I'm sure his testimony will be on their living expenses, but I don't know. There's also some other claims that my client has that he has used it to buy cows and secretly sell them. These people kept their money, although they were married, they kept their money very separate. And now his retirement is gone and hers still is there. And that's very hard for her. So we have claims about fault, about transmission of a venereal disease, and about, reconstituting the community estate that he fraudulently, and a lot of that is going to be from her, just because there may be some testimony from some other folks. There may be a child or two that would testify, and there may be a friend or two and somebody from the sale barn where he's been selling the animals that he claims he doesn't own. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. So one, have y'all mediated?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I really think 3 hours is enough if we're just talking about the money and about retirement and about some things that not there. Those are, in my mind, don't take that long if you don't ask the same question over and over again. And I get that evidence very easily, and I don't think that I have to hear it a whole bunch of times. I do need to hear it. On the other hand, if you're full force going after that tort claim that Mr. Jenkins just read, I don't think 3 hours is enough. That's not knowing what the evidence is. That sounds that it typically needs to be pieced together and with more than one witness, and just timing is one element of it, but other factors to get your burden of proof, it seems. So I wouldn't think that less than 4 hours would be necessary if you're full force going after that claim.
Well, I think proving causation or where it came from is always a problem with a claim like that. And we're pursuing it. I don't know, full force. I'm not going to say on Zoom that we're not going after a claim that we've pled less than full force. But I recognize the difficulties in proving up some elements. I don't know what else to say.
No, I'm not trying to make you I'm just talking about time. And then when I say full force is that you're going to try to prove that claim. And if you're trying to prove that claim, I really wasn't talking about the zealousness of what you meant. And I understand that may have come across that way. I'm just talking about how much time you would need to try to establish a claim like that is just what I'm talking about.
I think the bulk of the testimony is going to come from the husband and wife. And there may be a few other brief witnesses. I think the whole thing can be done in 4 hours. That's just
Connor, and I agree, Mr. Jenkins and I have talked a lot about this case. We understand it pretty well. I think we can articulate it to you in about 3 hours, especially if we can streamline it. There's a couple of things we can streamline. I don't need my expert if we stipulate to the report. I don't know that the value is really in dispute. It's just going to be how much each side would get of it. And it's Chuck Farber, it's the guy that always does these things. If he did testify, I don't think it would be just real long anyway, but he's just done his standard pension analysis. And so if that could also streamline. And
what kind of retirement is it? Is it a 401k? Was it a pension?
It's a pension. And so as far as that, I think I may have one counter witness or witness that's going to help my guy. My understanding is Mr. Jenkins is probably going to have 2 or 3 Again, I don't think these are going to be lengthy witnesses, and I don't think my cross will be lengthy on those either.
Okay, so one, I need you both to exchange documents with a request that they be stipulated. Any documents that are not disputed would be stipulated it is admissible. I would rather that, my theory is that most of the times I've heard things is that documents aren't necessarily disputed. You may dispute what they mean, or you may dispute that they mean very little, or you don't care what they mean, but you're not really disputing their authenticity and their admissibility. And so that there's a lot of time and effort in things admissible. And so I want you to exchange those documents and request that they be stipulated. And of course, specifically reserving any objections that are legitimate. If there's a real legitimate dispute about whether a document should be admitted, you can reserve that. But be honest about those. A lot of times nobody, I'm going to give you the good example in a child custody case, report cards. Sometimes there's a, doctor's medical record or something. You don't really dispute anything about that. But we're going to spend a lot of time going and proving that up. And also attorney expense behind the scenes doing that. So if you really don't dispute those things, so let's just stipulate their admissibility, and then you can obviously reserve any legitimate objections for trial. I'm more than happy to take those up, but we can streamline that part. And then if they're already admitted, so we haven't given you the date yet, but 7 days before the date of the trial, then you'll have to the other side, all documents requested to be stipulated. How about 2 weeks before trial? And then 1 week before trial, your stipulation that they're admissible or not and what is reserved. Okay. And then 2 business days before trial, have to Haley those documents.
In digital form or hard copies?
Pardon me?
In digital form or hard copies?
I don't care which.
Are we marking them though to give
Yes.
to her to be, so, okay.
Yes.
Understood.
And of course, just because you submit it to the other side doesn't mean you have to use it. Just means that those are the ones you can. Now, in this Zoom world, this is what I'm trying to figure out. If we're doing this by Zoom, and obviously it seems like the tenor of the state is more and more opening up. And we're going to have, now look, if you said 2 hours, there's not a problem, right? We can set that pretty generally anytime. Saying 4 hours is another matter, because we kind of have to figure out, that's most of a day, right? We have to start that in the morning and finish that in the afternoon. If we start it late morning and finish it later in the afternoon, we can do all of that. But in planning when we're going to have it, that's the question. So, and whether we do it by Zoom or we do it live. If on the regular days when we were doing everything, there was no such thing as doing a hearing on Zoom, all the cases on a particular day would be set at 9 o'clock. The agreements and the earliest, the shortest cases would get taken up first as we go to work to the longer ones. This kind of has to have its own day. There may be something else scheduled on that day, but for the most part, whether we do it Zoom or we do it live, it kind of has to be kind of specially set. So how quickly Oh, and also, by the way, right now, we're not having jury trials, but we're anticipating that in May, we're going to be going and doing jury trials, in which case we will be doing a large number of CPS cases unless they settle. And by the way, Mr. Jenkins, yours might be the first one that goes. So,
I'm assuming you're going to be doing those live, or is that going to be Zoom?
yeah, we'll have to do the jury trials live. We really haven't discussed in our office how quickly we're transitioning back to doing live. We've already been notified by at least one attorney that attorney doesn't feel comfortable coming in live in the courtroom, but at the same time, I don't know that person would be willing to be on a computer while everybody else is in the courtroom. But the rule does contemplate that you can allow somebody to appear remotely while everybody else is live. I don't know how we handle all of that. Is this a hearing that needs to be in person? One of my concerns has always been that on Zoom, people freeze up. You two are very cordial with each other, but some people are not. Fights on Zoom are worse than fights in the courtroom. And sometimes you don't even have your client in the same room, and that creates a problem.
Your Honor, I'm okay either way. I'm getting used to Zoom. I can now spell Zoom. So I'm slowly getting there, but I'll do whatever y'all want to do.
Let me ask you this.
I owe Will a couple of favors in this case already. So whatever he wants to do, I'm good.
Let me ask you. If I said April or September, which one sounds better for having this heard?
I'm assuming Will's going to say April, and I would say April.
That's right. Look, they're living together in the same home.
We need to address that in real estate and maybe selling stuff, and there's a lot going on. So yeah, I would, if there's a way to do it sooner, I think that would be better. Normally I don't care a whole lot, but I do think that these two people need to have some relief.
Okay, so I know that April we're not having a jury trial. And so that jury trial week, I know we've scheduled something. I'm not sure exactly. Okay, Jennifer's coming in to talk to me to tell me. What do we have? What's that April jury week?
It's here. We have a 4-hour hearing here, and then this is when the Nixon hearing is.
Oh, well, that week you've got Nixon.
I have Nixon on the week of the
Hold on, but we've got
April is on us, Judge. I mean, is there any way it could be the beginning of May?
Well, the problem with May is that we may start our jury trials. But let me look and see if maybe there's another day.
Okay, so Haley is not doing so if we have to have something here, we've got Haley. I'm gonna be gone.
Those are
Here.
coming up.
Oh, here. No, we don't have anything.
Not this week,
We
like
don't-
this Thursday.
Mm-mm.
We do that day.
No, that was, I hadn't deleted that, so.
And is that on Tuesday or Wednesday?
We have to only put submission here and here,
Okay.
because Haley was gonna be
Well, I
out.
could
That
do it
was-
that day and then I could do my submissions because I just do that. How about either Tuesday, May 25th or Wednesday, May 26th?
You're saying May? Is that where the jury trials are going to be for CPS?
No, that's the week after that.
I'm okay on either one of those days.
What were our options? May 25th, May 26th?
Yes,
Would you prefer Wednesday, Will, if you,
Yes,
because you may have a meeting on Tuesday?
yes. That's a
Will
fourth.
is a big wig and he has meetings on Tuesdays.
That's a mandate. That's a fourth. Yes, it'll definitely be a mandate. But I'm not a big wig. I'm big. I'm just not a wig.
But not a wig.
But not a wig.
Just big.
Okay. All right.
26.
So that's going to be set at, we will determine later whether it'll be live or Zoom. And
It doesn't
we'll
matter.
start it at 9:30 because if it's on Zoom, so it just works out better to be 9:30. And so we'll start it at 9:30 either way. There won't be any other notice going out about that. This is what it is. I'm going to put it on in my docket notes that it will be set for that day at 9:30. But now we're working backwards from those dates for your documents. And if you have people you need to subpoena, do that accordingly. If there are any pretrial issues that come up, let me know. But otherwise, we would just have it at that date, no other notice.
And Judge, I agree with Mr. Shaw, but I'll do in person or Zoom. It's not that I have an issue with that. It's always learning new tricks with the technology with Zoom and sharing the screen and documents. But I'm sure Mr. Shaw was off.
It's a wonderful technology, but it has some limitations still. And from where I sit, it is very, very, very frustrating that it's more difficult to introduce evidence. And on top of that, we freeze up a lot. And then and it gets frustrating from my end. So I'm not saying for sure we're going to do it live. However, if we can, I've been trying to stick my finger up in the air and go, what way is the wind blowing? And when the wind seems to be blowing toward tightening up more, then we have tightened up more. And when it seems like things are loosening up, we're trying to loosen up. It feels as though things are loosening up. And if it continues that way, you would expect that the least frustrating thing for all of us to do is just come and do a live hearing in the traditional way. But that's 2 months from now, and that anything could happen. I don't want to say yet for sure, but I would rather personally have it live.
May 26th, 9:30.
And so
Okay.
we're gonna presume-
Anything that either of you wanted to address?
We're going to presume it's probably live unless some crazy happens or you tell us otherwise.
Right.
Okay. And I've got my 2 weeks, my week, and my 2 days, and 9:30 on the 26th. I don't think I really need too much else. And I will get, Mr. Jenkins and I will get together and work out documents.
Yes.
Okay, great. Anything further?
No, sir.
Okay, this completes the hearing. Thank you.
Thank y'all very much. Thanks, Will.
Thank you.